So as you learn new filmmaking techniques, you know the best way to try these things out is with friends and family. For me, it's our kids. They all have different interests, and it's kind of a way of making really, really cool keepsakes. Now, this recent short film is starring one of my sons who's into making knives. Now, he started doing it back in 2018, but he stepped away from it, and then he came back with a new perspective. So now that he's way more comfortable with it, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to film the process. So for this one, I shot it with my C70 using one lens. I used a 24-70 2.8, and I may or may not have used a black pro mist, I think like an 1/8. And I guess it's because I didn't really want it to be too sharp. And for lighting, I used a mixture between natural light and a tube light. More on that later. So the first location was in his bedroom, where normally he brainstorms and sketches out the knives and stuff. And I liked the way the light was pouring in through the window. So I didn't use any lighting for that part, but I did use a whole lot of haze. I'm talking a whole lot of haze. I didn't put the camera on sticks for this because I kind of wanted that handheld organic feel. And again, I really feel like I lucked out for this one because the way the lighting was coming in, it was just the perfect time of day. It was just... So the second location was the garage, and I wanted it to look a little bit more interesting than how it normally looks when he's working in there. But I also wanted it to be bright enough for him to actually see what he's doing. But first, had to spray some haze. So to get more drama in the shot, I turned off all the lights and I only left on this long tungsten tube light that was just overhead. Now, I didn't really like how that looked because, again, it wasn't dimmable and it was just causing too much of a spill. So I used my smaller LED tube lights. And that worked okay, but I wanted more coverage and more control. So I used a 4-foot Quasar tube light, which was really cool because it was, again, it was longer and able to, and it was dimmable. That was a plus. So I boomed it overhead and that seemed to do the trick. This was ridiculous. All this just so I could motivate the light. So I decided not to backlight him. I don't know, I felt like it might have robbed the look of a little something. It was a creative choice. And I mean, I don't really regret it. I think it came out okay. And because normally he's not backlit when he's working in there, so I didn't really want to OD in there. And I tend to lean towards the dark, moody look anyway. So for the more static shots, I opted out using a monopod instead of a tripod because I tend to trip over things a lot. So I tried a lot of angles, different shots, and I found that there were a lot of shots that I really wanted to keep, but I noticed that it might have made the whole video longer than it needed to be. It's like, again, it was a short. It wasn't like a feature film or anything. Because even the final edit, I felt was too long. You know, like when you're editing and you look at things over and over and over again, you start to cringe a little bit because you feel like, okay, that's too much. So then that's when you start cutting things out and you start to see more of a flow. I think I started off with getting rid of shots that broke continuity. I found that to be an easier way to cut shots out. So I hope this was informative, and I mean, I learned a lot from doing this. You know, every time I shoot, I try to push myself a little further. And again, it's always fun just to make these cool short films with my kids. I get to try new things and push myself, and again, I get to share it with you. So thanks for watching.